I'm going to ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, but right immediately after that, I'm going to have a moment of silence. We had two retirees that passed this within the last week. One was James Warner, who was in charge of our, he was a supervisor in our DPW, and Tom Vomerhausen, who was a police officer. And we also had the wife of our city administrator that was many years ago, Roy Musselman. His wife passed away. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:01. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Von Cricks.
Here.
Benedetti.
Here.
Howie.
Here.
Lefevre.
Here.
Perugi.
Here.
Rizeppa.
Here.
Stack.
Here.
Quorum present, Mayor Stack.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of September 16th, regular meeting.
Motion to approve.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Next item on the agenda is a presentation for one of our retirees, Todd Tinchner. Can I have somebody make it so it's part of the
Regular meeting.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. So.
Is this on then?
Yes, it is. So,
No.
Todd, would you join them up at the?
Come on down. On behalf of the Trenton Police Department, we wanted to present Todd Tincher, who retired as a lieutenant with the police department after almost 32 years. Wow. So Todd worked there almost longer than how old I am. Anyway, just a couple words. Todd is a great friend. When I started on the police department, Todd was my first field training officer. So I got to ride with Todd for, I don't know, quite a while. He taught me all the tricks of the trade, and I appreciated Todd's personality at the police department. For those of you who don't know Todd, the policing can be a serious job, but Todd was always able to make us laugh and keep some humor around the place and keep things light. But we miss him, but we're certainly happy that his family finally has to have him around all the time, and can't give him back. So. And here's Chief Scheffler.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Todd, for all you've done for the department. Everyone had fun joking with you and having a good time, but most of us that learned from you learned valuable lessons. And some of your traits that you taught us or that we tried to learn from you were important to everyone that works there. And I know it's overlooked because we had a lot of fun with you, and you love to have a good time and, you know, poke fun at different issues when it was needed to be done to lighten the mood. But all in all, just a wonderful job you did training all our young people, so myself included. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce your family?
I know you
Okay.
got something to say, too.
Thank you, Director Voss and Chief Scheffler. With me tonight is my wife, Jessica, on the end there with our baby, Riley. She's 8 months old. My daughter, Madison, my son, Corey, and his beautiful bride, Alexis. They just got married September 21st.
Oh, newlyweds.
Yeah. Thank you. No, 32 years went by really fast, but it was a great time. And I never told Steve this story, but I was a police officer in Detroit, and my dad worked in Detroit, and he always told me, work a year in Detroit and get out. And I saw an ad for Trenton. I had no idea where Trenton was. But I applied, and I got hired, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. So, thank you.
We're glad we had you.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Sure are.
Todd, the council would like to shake your hand.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's get started this way.
Great job.
Thank you so much, thank you.
Congratulations, Todd. Best wishes.
Yeah, good luck.
Kindness, so it's a great thing. Thank you again, Todd, and thank you for sharing your father with us, and your wife, thank you for sharing Todd with us, because we really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, you don't have to stay if you don't want to, believe me, because, okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, no, thank you.
Good.
Next item on the agenda is our Downtown Development Authority and City Beautiful appointments. And I'd like to reappoint Linda Schulman to the Downtown Development Authority, expiring term September 1st, 2022, and the appointment of Cindy Mazarek to the City Beautiful Commission for a term expiring 10/1 of '22.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Benedetti?
Yes.
Howie?
Yes.
LaFever?
Yes.
Perugi?
Yes.
Rezeppa?
Yes.
Stack?
Abstain.
Von Crooks? Motion carried, Mayor Stack.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is from Alan Stone, resignation from the Historical Commission. He is resigning and requests administration to send a letter of accommodation to him for his services.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Okay, first item is from our city administrator for the medical marijuana facilities, which was tabled on 8/19/2019. Mr. Church.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you indicated, this item was tabled and brought back for action tonight. It appears that a number of individuals are reluctant to move forward with a second reading at this time for a number of reasons, including the fact the Planning Commission has yet to make a recommendation or conduct a public hearing. Legal challenges have surfaced in some other communities regarding administrative and approval processes, and additional resources and general information such as webinars and regulatory assistance from the state of Michigan have yet to be received and reviewed by all decision makers. There does not appear to be a definite timeline during this legislative session in which the above questions will absolutely be answered or addressed, and it is therefore the collective recommendation of the mayor, the city administrator, and city attorney that further action on this item be deferred and that this item be removed from the agenda. It would further be our recommendation that continued research and analysis be done with the expectation that following a final review, an enforceable proposal can be presented to City Council for your consideration. We regret the delay in resolving these matters. However, we would prefer to present and adopt enforceable regulations that will avoid costly litigation and survive other challenges to our regulatory scheme.
Can we have a motion, please?
I would so move
Can we get a motion to remove it from the table?
from the table.
Remove it from the table?
Yep.
Nobody wants to remove it from the table?
Support.
Okay. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Now, where would the
To defer? Don't we have to make another motion?
move to defer,
Yep.
remove the item
Make a
from the
motion to
medical?
defer this.
And remove the item of medical marijuana facilities from the agenda?
Yes.
Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been supported. Discussion? Councilman Howie?
So, Madam Mayor, so the next step, is it in Planning Commission's hands as of now, or are we still tweaking the ordinance?
The commission meets on this Wednesday. It will be in their hands on Wednesday.
And,
It won't be up for any discussion. It'll be actually probably received and placed on file so they can do their research before we go anywhere with it.
which of the two ordinances are gonna be proposed
one.
or submitted?
The first one,
Medical.
the first one that was submitted in first
801
reading.
Okay, in the first reading that was approved. So the other one that was modified or changed?
Or it never reached that angle of it. We can include it if you want to do that for them to see, but it's not, there hasn't been any motion on that subject at this point. Do you have a recommendation?
I mean, it seems like there was some input that was necessary in the revised one. I know there were some things that were, some omissions that were in there as well, though, so I guess I'll leave it up to the city attorney.
Do you have anything you want to say, Wally?
No, but I mean, it's in that way.
I guess our recommendation would be to defer both of them. The council can take up either one at a later date, but we really are waiting clarification from the regulatory agency, and we have concern about legal challenges that have been made to the ordinances in other jurisdictions based on, discrimination in awarding licenses. And those communities that have started awarding them obviously encountered some resistance from perhaps applicants that didn't receive licenses, and those have generated a handful of lawsuits that are still pending.
Thank you.
I did leave a article in front of you that's from the Cranes this morning. I received it today. It does tell you about different cities and what they're doing with it. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. Councilman LaFever?
Yeah, well, last week I think the mayor, myself, and Stephen met with our lobbyist, and he brought us up to date on some new issues, new legal issues, some things we should watch out for. I think that he should definitely come down here and meet with the whole city council, and let us all know what the rules and regulations and how they're being interpreted by the state of Michigan, okay? We all think we're pretty knowledgeable, and I think we are, but there's a lot of things that, a lot of issues that have come up that we're not aware of. At least I wasn't aware of, okay, I'll put it that way, all right?
Okay. I was informed that the commission did receive both of those ordinances. Okay. Anyone else? Any discussion, any more discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered, so we'll move on with it. Okay, city engineer request to renew library HVAC service contract. It was tabled on 9/16/2019. Mr. Hogan?
Thank you. Not sure what you want me to do. I presented it and it was tabled. Would you like me to go over the
Motion to remove the item
recommendation?
from the table.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to remove from the table.
Motion to support.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Okay, so now we're at the point, did you make a motion?
I made a motion. I didn't hear anyone support it. So-
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
remove
That's
from
my
the
fault.
table?
Sorry.
Yeah. From the
My
table.
shocked look, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I thought I missed
No, it
something.
was, I thought I heard somebody, so.
Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. So now we're back to the engineer's request to renew the library HVAC service contract from move to renew the Siemens service contract for the one-year term.
I apologize, Madam Mayor. That was what
Oh,
my motion was.
I'm sorry, okay.
For it to be removed from the table and motioned again.
Okay.
For approval.
So I'm looking for support, okay, so we have support for that?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. The reason why this was brought was because Councilman LaFever wanted to talk about this. So that's the reason why we brought this back.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't available that night to be here, and I wanted to have some input, and I got my input on it. I'm satisfied now with it.
You're satisfied with it?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. You're all set?
Thank you.
Thank you. Library Director requests to purchase chairs for the public computer stations. Mrs. Chapman?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening. There are 35 chairs that need to be replaced at 35 public computer stations. These new chairs will replace the chairs that are original to the library's opening in 1999. ISCG is a dealer of Hawthorne products and honors the City of Trenton's membership in the MI deal contract. The total is $5,251.05. Excludes sales tax and includes delivery, installation, 12-year warranty. This purchase would come out of special funds. The account number is listed. We thank you for your consideration and support.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
In the motion, though, we need to include the company name.
Yep, I did put IS. The G, it was
Okay.
updated
Okay,
this
not a
morning.
problem.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Director of Police and Fire request to enter into interlocal sync agreement. Director
Good evening, Mayor and
Voss.
Council. What you had before you is an agreement, it's a 5-year agreement for the Sync Group. For those of you that aren't familiar, this is the last year, it's going to expire of our last 5-year interlocal agreement with Sync. That's the shared information network consortium that consists of, at the current time, it consisted of 8 communities. Well, what we were able to do over the last 6 months was get some other communities on board, and they will be joining us. And we're extremely happy, actually shocked, that all the chiefs and directors were able to get together, and work this out. But we're going to be joined by Allen Park, Lincoln Park, River Rouge, Southgate, and Wyandotte. With them coming on board, this is going to share the cost more between all the agencies, which our sync costs will go down by somewhere around $4,000 a year. But the big thing with this is we'll be able to share information with those communities in the information network, not to include like lean and stuff like that, but the information network is our in-house computers. So we will be able to see what they have going on, they'll be able to see what we have going on. So we're really excited about this.
Move to concur.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is our Parks and Recreation Director, Mrs. Gagne. Permission to sell Zamboni, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the delivery of our new Zamboni this past July, we are requesting permission to sell the 1999 Zamboni, which is the oldest in our fleet. Recently, we have received interest from Fraser Ice Arena to purchase this machine, which prior to receiving upgrades this summer was estimated to be worth $8,000. Based upon the professional opinion that we did receive from representatives of Zamboni this summer, Fraser is offering a fair market value for this refurbished machine. Our plan is to use approximately $10,000 of the sale to make improvements to the 2000 Zamboni, which will then put our fleet in excellent shape for the next 10 to 15 years. And we are therefore requesting permission to sell the 1999 Zamboni to Fraser Ice Arena for a total of $35,000 and waive any formal advertising for sale in the best interest of the city.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Next item on the
Thank
agenda
you.
is our Westfield Center flooring request.
As part of our cosmetic enhancements to the Westfield Center, we have solicited quotes to replace the existing carpeting flooring, which is in very poor condition. A total of 3 quotes were received from J. Rose Carpet One, Floors by Bill, and Joe's Carpet. We also reached out to Carpet Town, but they no longer deal in commercial flooring. The companies were asked to provide quotes for both vinyl plank and carpeting options, and the options are in my memo. And because of the high traffic volumes and the experience that we've had on how poorly carpeting has held up in these high traffic areas, we are recommending to replace this flooring with the durable, low maintenance vinyl plank option. We reviewed the vinyl products quoted and find that all to be of high quality, commercial grade for high performance areas. And based on this review, we are recommending to waive the normal bidding process and accept the low quote from Joe's Carpet Services for a total of $17,850 in the best interest of the city. This quote does include removing the existing flooring, prepping the floor, and installation with certified installers. And monies have not been budgeted for this expense in the current budget, but is being brought forth for your consideration tonight.
I would so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported, but I need a place to take the money. So,
What about the aesthetics account that we set aside?
I'm not sure that, yeah, where's my,
It's Karen.
I don't think that we have that in action anymore, do we? A budget amendment, okay.
But is the money still in that account, or have we spent the 50,000 we set aside?
All of it, but I don't know the amount.
Okay, well, could we find out? Because I'd like to know what's left in there. I know we didn't probably spend all of it on Christmas decorations and everything else, so hopefully there's still some money.
No, we painted the fire hall, and we put a new flooring in there, and we put
Right.
shutters on the cultural center, and
Right.
so there's other things that have been done out of that budget, but, yeah, we can find out if there's enough money, we can take it out of there. If there's, Other than that, then we're gonna have to, look for another means because we didn't budget any money for Westfield.
Which is a shame, 'cause that's something that we talked about. I had two questions. One was where we're gonna get the money from. And two, just going through the bids, it seems to me that the low contractor, I think you had 81 cartons of material, and the next lowest was 93 cartons, or whatever the numbers came out to be. So are we comfortable with the quantities, or I'm not sure how the contractor.
I am comfortable with the bids that were presented, and it could be based on, they're different manufacturers of flooring, so they could be in different volumes.
Waste factors or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, so I guess I can't very well put a motion out here if I don't have where it's coming from, so.
Well, it needs to come from the Parks and Rec. I mean, if that facility belongs to the Parks and Rec or under the maintenance, or
Maintenance
if we
is
have another.
now at DPW for the
Well-
buildings, so that's the problem. Everybody have any ideas? That's what I'm looking for.
I just did.
Administration to figure it out as part of the motion.
There he goes, comes right back at me, right?
See what's in the aesthetics account and then go from there.
We'll go from there. If we can get it approved, and then, we'll see where we can find it. Okay. Okay, so, any other discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered, and now, we'll look to see what's left in the aesthetics.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is, I have, Mrs. Morrow. And, she'd like to talk to us about the marijuana issue.
We have a motion to let her speak.
So moved.
It's been moved, supported? Who supported it?
Nope, I don't have support yet.
Somebody want to support that, to let her do her presentation?
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously sorted. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Stack and Council, for the opportunity to speak. My name's Laura Morrow. I'm a longtime resident in Trenton. I was born and raised here. I moved away for a while when I served in the United States Air Force and was out of the state for a while. When I moved back, I've spent the last 20 years as a homeowner here and raising my family. I'm here as a concerned resident. I'm here concerned for my family, for my community, not just for the city, but for Downriver as a whole. The implications of the medical marijuana facilities and what the council is looking at right now as far as the proposed ordinance has far-reaching implications. I understand that I did send a video that was reviewed and has been sent to all of you. I will actually be sending the longer version documentary. It's actually, and I can't take any credit for it, the trailer that you were given, just for the record. It was actually put out by Drug Free Idaho, and it was all the statistics that have come out of Colorado, some out of Oregon, and some out of California for what's currently happening with the drug crisis there. And it's all not just around the legalization, but in that short video you had, two of the cities that were in there, Denver, Colorado, and Pueblo, are actually cities that invited the supply chain that we're talking about here, processing grow facilities into their towns, and much to the detriment. So I just wanted to call that out. But I will make sure that you get a copy of the full-length documentary as well as the Planning Commission. So what I'd like to ask is just a few discovery questions, because I know we really haven't had a public forum or hearing on this. I know a lot of the residents I've spoke to personally were not aware of everything going on concerning the ordinance. I do know that in January of 2018, though, there was a move to refrain from authorizing medical marijuana facilities, and that was actually approved. Everybody voted for refraining with the exception of Councilman Rizeppa, and this was signed by Mayor Stack. Then also I know October of last year, you also took a good move, and you said that we do not want legalized marijuana use in our city either. So that was
I think that was
October.
for recreational.
Yes, for recreational, that's correct. And I commend the council for that move. What I'd like to ask, though, and I guess I don't understand, is between the two ordinances and resolutions that were passed last year, and then the one that is here from August of this year that was proposed, that this is now saying that we want this in our city. So what I'm trying to understand is kind of the quantum leap from last year to this year. What has changed? What has changed your mind? What are the perceived benefits for the community? And I just like to understand and just have a little bit of a discovery.
Anybody have anything like to speak? I will let you know that at this point, we had gone and the council decided against recreational. We were looking further into the medical marijuana end of it. We weren't going to be for, at one point, there was no provisionary whatsoever in the community. The other thing was that it wasn't going to have any, even processing, the council was kind of leery about doing processing. It was to see, in some respects, it was to see if we could take some of the grow systems out of the residential area. I will let you know that. I don't know if that would happen or not. We do have some areas that we get complaints because the people can smell the marijuana outside their homes. So they're growing it at, the local homes. So my thing is, at this point in time, after the first resolution or the first ordinance that we read, then we were looking at the second ordinance. I have a real problem because what was being proposed in the first one, then when the second one came to look at further into it, it was taking things out and and it was stuff that we had already approved that we didn't want to, we wanted left into the ordinance. And then all of a sudden it was changing it. So there was a big thing with that. And so I said, you know what? We need to take it to the Planning Commission. We had first gone to the Planning Commission and we're trying to look at what we could do with it. We need to take it back to them, see what their recommendation is. Maybe they see something we don't, and getting some more people involved, because this is a touchy issue. And I'm, right now at this point in time, I'm looking at, I'd like to start the process over. I don't know where everybody else lies in this, but I'd like to start the process over so that all of us can be part of it. And if we're, so that we all agree or just, we're going to have people that disagree, no doubt about it. But I think it's time to look at what we need to do and making sure that the Planning Commission is involved with it.
Absolutely, and that's been my question as a concerned resident, what due diligence has been done here? Because going back through some of the notes from the council meetings, looking at prior videos, I haven't really seen that, and that has really been concerning to me. Because obviously you want to get input from the community, from the local schools, from obviously the law enforcement here, and everybody that this is going to impact. And I would even say the downriver communities as well, because I know for certain that Riverview has already voted against it, their council. I know that Mayor Odette has also, they've turned it down. They don't want it in Woodhaven. And so there's all the downriver communities that have already said no to this. Mm-hmm. So again, please bear with me. I wasn't planning on talking too long tonight, but since the video's not getting played, in lieu of that, I do want to share just a little information. So from all the research that I've done, because typically the big driver for this in cities is the revenue. That's the bottom line. It's supposed to make money, right? Well, statistics have shown, and this, I can give you all this data. This is not numbers I'm making up. For every $1 of revenue that comes in, communities have to shell out, and this is a conservative estimate, $4.50 in social costs. That's from the Centennial Institute in Colorado, a very recent report. Other reports have shown the burden to be high as 10 to 1. So either way you look at it, you're in the red. You're not going to help any budget crisis, you're actually going to compound it. So the revenue's not there, the statistics are bearing it out. And what we're finding too, and what is Colorado has found, as has Oregon and California, is that marijuana business, they're just not good corporate citizens. Money is not going back into the communities, money is getting taken out. The only one getting money are the people benefiting from it. They're in the industry, and the money's going in their pockets. And another concern I have is, as you look at planning, that you have a risk mitigation plan in place for chemical fires, direct injuries and traumas, burns, and environmental exposure. Even looking on the website for MIOSHA, for Michigan Health and Safety, They said due to the complicated nature of the hazards present in the marijuana industry, you have to do careful planning. So that means you have to look out for your first responders, those employees that are going to be working in those medical marijuana facilities, the public, and hospital personnel staff. You have carbon dioxide-rich air and pesticides that are used. There's high-power grow lights. It taxes the power grid. It's a concern there because of the power coming into the plants. You have flammable chemicals that are being used to extract these oils. You have noise and pollution from the grow and processing plants. You can already go down Jefferson right now for the ones that are allowed to grow under caretaker, and you already have the skunk smell. So we know that that's going to compound. And then there's also the potential workplace violence related to asset protection. Again, this all came from IOSHA. This is not anything I made up. Then you have to look at law enforcement costs. You have to have training, and you have to have special equipment. Councilman Benedetti, I know that you previously had served in the fire department, so I'm sure that would be of great concern to you. Right now, recent studies estimate that between $820 million and more than $1 billion will need to be spent over the next 5 years for training and new equipment. That came from the New York State Sheriff's Association. And again, I know we could be here all night. This isn't even half of what I have. But to show you hazards of the trade, this is from the National Fire Protection Association. You have the International Association of Fire Chiefs saying all the near misses that are going on at grow facilities. You have grow houses and facilities producing unforeseen hazards. You have living near marijuana grow can be unhealthy. So this, again, is just a sampling of what's out there. And of concern to me, because my background's in healthcare, have you consulted or talked to the local hospitals? They have to be able to plan appropriately for disaster management planning and hazmat planning. And that's something that they need to know so that they have also the appropriate protective gear and training in place, just like our first responders need. So that being said, we know that this marijuana is a billion-dollar industry. They've sold a slick marketing campaign to basically our youth, to us, to make it seem like we can blur the lines between the legalized recreational, the legalized medical, and it's all good. And what we're finding is right now the industry is cranking out very high potency THC products and edibles. This is a highly unregulated industry. And then you have the staff and the personnel that will be working in these facilities we're proposing. They're not chemists. They don't have a background in this. So what we need to know, and what you saw in that video, this is not Woodstock weed. Woodstock weed was 4 to 5% back in the day. That's everybody thinks, oh, it's marijuana. How harmful can it be? We're talking about high potency. We're talking about up to 99% pure. We're talking derivative that's being put out there in the industry. Again, this is still a Schedule I narcotic. It's not regulated by the FDA, and the DEA says it's Schedule I illegal. It's still illegal. And when you talk to people, too, about, well, medical, you know, it's going to do a lot of good things, right? This is all recent from the American Cancer Society. They don't even advocate the use of inhaled marijuana or the legalization of it. America Glaucoma Foundation, they have found that they can't even recommend the drug in any form of treatment at glaucoma at the present time. American Association of Pediatrics, we're talking AMA and many, many associations here.
Mrs. Morrow, can I have you kind of wrap it up? Because we usually only give 5 minutes, but I gave you plenty of time. But what I have, one of our council members wants to address you too, so.
In regards to your thing about the fire department, you're right, yes. I worked here for 25 years, correct. One thing I'll say is, at least doing it down there, it's in an area, it's regulated. I went on a tour of it. They can do it now without our permission. They're doing it now without our permission. They have state-of-the-art security systems, they have fire protection systems and alarms, and they have those things. Or we can have the resident grow it next to you in his basement. Nobody knows he's there, and when that place catches fire, everything you just brought up is going to be a factor for our fire department and our police department and your neighborhood. But at least if we know where it's at, we take chemicals, plant, and stick them down there where Edafino is. We had McLouth where it was. We stick them in areas for a reason. They're there no matter what. I cannot stop this group from being there. They're there. Their chemicals are there. They're being inspected. But at least we know they're doing it. Other places, they have not come forward, and they don't need to come forward. So I want people to understand that you're right. There's issues with it. But at least it's a controlled area. If it's in my neighborhood, I'm going to be standing there where you're at.
Okay, I would just tend to disagree that it's not going to be controlled, because once there's a massive fire down there, then it involves the whole community.
And we can have a massive fire anywhere with
That's
over
correct.
there at Adafina. And we can wipe out half the town.
That's right. So why do we want to
We can
add
have
to,
it
why
back
do we want
at-
to add to it?
All right,
You know what,
solution.
I don't want to get into
No, I know.
going
I'm
back
done.
and forth,
I'm done.
okay? So,
I apologize. I thought
Okay.
by being put on the agenda that I was given, more than 5 minutes.
yeah, not a problem. And I think you've had quite a bit, so just so you know. But I understand where you're coming from. This is some of the things that they're gonna have to consider, all the council, all the planning commission, to decide what we're gonna do with the, issue. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not in a hurry to get this taken care of, because I'm seeing now where all these lawsuits are coming out with different communities and all this, because they don't have, certain things, how they pick the people. We have 3 people down there right now, but what's to say that I can't fill up the whole block?
That's right.
See where I'm going with it? So my problem is that I want to, and who's going to be picked? Maybe these guys are going to go in, drawing. Guess what? Might be one of you, might be 2 of you. We don't know. And they've been very forthright. Don't get me wrong. They've been very forthright with letting us know about what they're doing down there. I've been on a tour. I'm going to tell you, I was on a tour for the 2 locations. The third one is, I'm not going to say it, but I guess I will, because I think he's riding on the coattails of the other 2. But I'm just letting you know that as far as I'm concerned right now, I think we need to do everything, and there's no reason why we have to rush into this, because now we're seeing where the ones that have rushed into it, guess what? There's all kinds of problems.
Yes, and I'm saying we need a public forum. The council and the city owe that to the residents. This cannot fly under the radar and not be known.
And we won't do that.
Yes. The only thing I'll end on is that today I had a conversation with a friend and a current colleague of mine. He's a data scientist I work with. He lives in Denver proper. He was actually for this, because he's been there since Denver's put it in. He was gung-ho for it. He is sitting there watching the numbers coming out, and as a data scientist, he's been studying them. He also says, I turn on the news every night, Laura. He said, without fail, there's either something going on because there's a black market bust. He said illegal activity has come in. It's not squelched it. He said we still have a budget problem. It's not taking care of that. Their homelessness is out of control. All the things you saw in that video, he's living it firsthand. And this was from somebody who originally supported it. And to even make it a little bit more poignant, he told me this weekend him and his wife own a flower shop. He said on Saturday he had to help deliver flowers to a funeral of a kid that just turned 18-year-old, had been vaping, again, medical THC, was told, hey, this is good for you. And this was a kid who had asthma. He had a predisposition. He vaped it, the lungs shut down. There was no time for CPR or anything, and that was it. So it is a public health crisis we're talking about here, too. You can just turn on the news every night and you see what's going on with vaping. And 77% of the cases have been linked to THC. It's not nicotine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. We
Yes, I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
And I appreciate the opportunity to work again. And if you need anybody to volunteer as far as a citizen on the planning committee, I'd be happy to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, next item on the agenda is for our Mayor Pro Tem. It's the authorized disbursements, the investments, schedule of investments, and the commission reports, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Make a motion that we authorize disbursements dated October 7th, 2019 of $1,907,282.31.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered.
My next motion would be to receive and place on file the schedule of investments and cash on hand. It is September 30th, 2019. The Civic Commission minutes dated June 3rd, 2019. The Historical Commission minutes, August 12th, 2019.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, it's unanimously so ordered. Anything else?
No, that's it right now, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go to the, I have to look at my, the last time, okay, 10-7 is, Councilmember Zappa.
No, thank you.
Councilwoman Von Crooks?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilman Benedetti? Councilman LaFever?
Wow. I don't have anything, thank you.
Councilman Peruggi?
Yes, I have a question about the recent state money that's going to a, for the grade separation. My question to you, and hopefully you can answer it in the future, is how did state money end up on a county road and our street is a state street and didn't get the funding?
Well, I'm going to let you know that I did contact, because that went through the state budget, and then it was taken out of the budget and put into an account. But what's happened is that I wrote to our state representative and our senator and have asked them to be here October 21st at our next meeting to explain that to the residents. I'm not happy about it. It's $12 million they secured. That doesn't have the rest of the money to go with it. It is not the Allen Road overpass, underpass. It is at Van Horn. So it's by the, where the train tracks go into the yard. And so that's where it's at. It's not even the one that's on Allen Road. So that's gonna be really touchy subject because of, you know, if we had to do ambulance runs or anything, we'd have to go all the way around. So, I have asked them to be here, so I'm hoping that that's what's gonna happen, because I wrote them a letter last week and.
Have you gotten a response?
Not yet.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
That's it? Okay, Councilman Howie?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay, then we go to our elected officials. Madam Clerk, do you have anything this evening?
I would just like to mention that we will have a quarterly budget meeting at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, October 21st, and the regular council meeting to follow at 7 p.m.
Okay. Our city assessor, do you have anything this evening? Mr. Dalquist?
Madam Mayor, thank you. I have nothing.
Our city treasurer, Mr. McCullough, you have anything?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Department heads, do you have anything that you'd like to report to the public?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to update council and mayor and council on our MacArthur Park project that was delayed 1 year. And I'm happy to say that last Wednesday, we were able, with the help of the DTE Energy, they brought down volunteers in force, as well as residents of our community came together to plant over 325 perennial plants, as well as shrubbery. If you have the opportunity, stop by the park. Is absolutely beautiful. Yet to be put in are some trees that our Department of Public Service will get in the ground in the next couple of days. But thank you to DTE Energy and all of our volunteers from the community that came together for that project. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from any of the department heads? Mr. Doyle, Dr. Doyle. From the Trenton Public Schools, giving us an update.
Thank you, Mayor Stack and members of the City Council. Again, I'm Dr. Michael Doyle. I'm the Community Liaison Director for the Trenton Public Schools. The district continues to move forward with our bond improvements. We've opened 2 kindergarten classrooms, 2 at Headkey, 2 at Anderson, and they are full. The next areas that you're seeing being developed is the gym, cafeteria, music areas. They're currently under construction at Headkey and Anderson. That's where the building's going on right now. And those should be complete in January. The high school is in the final stage of its design. Weather permitting, we'll hope to start working on the new improvements for the high school in the spring. And a good place to find information about the schools is always to follow us on Facebook. It's just TrentonPublicSchools.com, and then our website. Thank you.
Very
Just
good.
a quick update on the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other people? Okay, I'd like to do something before we go. I didn't go to the council, so I need to go there for, yes, I did. Okay. I just wanted to bring to the attention of our residents, there is a application or app on your phone that you can actually kind of track the trains across the tracks. and it's called Trax, but it's TRRAXS. And you can actually put your favorites when it comes down to what road you cross, and they will tell you. Now, it is interactive, so say, for instance, you were at the, say, for instance, you're at Van Horn and Lathrop. It says 11 minutes ago, somebody must have updated this 11 minutes ago to tell us that it was clear, okay? So, and that'll tell you that the actual Trax is cleared. The Rosio Free Bridge is also on here, Vreeland Road in Toledo. I've got Sibley and West Jefferson, King Road and West Jefferson, naturally Van Horn and Fort Street. So there's things that you can see, and all you have to do is, if you are at a track, at one of the tracks, please, you know, if you're sitting there for a while and then all of a sudden it says that it's cleared, you know, just press the cleared and it'll help somebody else trying to get across the tracks. But this is an app that you can get, and it's Trax, TRRAXX. So if you're needing to get across railroad tracks, it might help you out a little bit. Also, I wanted to thank all the residents and friends and family that have prayed for my mother. She is being brought back down from Beaumont, Royal Oak, and she is now hopefully on her way up the ladder, I guess you could say, or over the hill type thing to get where she needs to go. But she is coming back to Applewood for rehab, so we're thankful for that, and my family thanks all of you for your prayers. Also, the 45th anniversary for Trafford Square was over the weekend. He actually had, I think he said somewhere around 600 donuts he gave out. He gave out 500 hot dogs he made, and hamburgers was like 300. He said that he had between 1,200 and 1,400 people at his event. They celebrated their 45th year of having Trafford Square down at Van Horn and Fort, and I stopped by there, and they've got a brand new sign out front, so if you see anybody over there, commend them on the good job that they've done over there, because they've really tried to make it appear and look good. Okay, so now it comes time for the public. If you would like to talk to us, please go up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and I will keep you to 5 minutes, so we'll start it as of now, okay?
I use my clock. Larry Bennett, 3277 South Stella Court, and I would like to commend Joanne and her crew for MacArthur Park. It really does look nice. I live around the corner. My question is on the medical marijuana issue. It seems to me like there's two issues. One is what's going on in other communities as far as lawsuits, and the second part of it is once that's resolved, or at least to where a point we can address it, what we're going to do about it, which is what I believe you're turning over to the Planning Commission. Would you tell us what directions specifically at this point in time you're giving the Planning Commission when you turn over this packet or whatever it is?
The Planning Commission actually helps us with the zoning of the area, you know, how we can adjust what we're going to do with that area. And it would actually, you know, so once we can put it in an ordinance, it would help us to decide if that we're only going to put it in that zoned area, you know, type thing, or we're going to go south of here or whatever. I was just worried about, one of the things I was worried about is if we go and have the certain growers down here at Jefferson between King and Sibley Road, what I was afraid of is that they're going to say, okay, you got an industrial area down south of here, why can't you have it there too? Because it doesn't hit, you know, residential areas. So the Planning Commission is kind of a recommending body, or they are a recommending body for us to be able to send their way, get some views and things like that. They probably will have a public hearings or some way that you can talk at one of their meetings, and then we'll go ahead and they'll bring back their recommendation, and we'll see where we go from there. But it's the idea of getting people to be able to voice their opinions of, you know, what's going to go on there. I guess that's. And what was your second question? I'm sorry.
No, that was just my question. I'm trying to understand so the Planning Commission is going to be dealing with a zoning issue, maybe for that or maybe for everything.
They do the whole city, the zoning, you know,
Yeah,
when they have certain things on zoning, they're the ones that they go to and look at whether it should be zoned business, mixed use, whatever it may be, okay? And maybe my administrator can give you a better definition here with all the good stuff so that clear up what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, basically, the Planning Commission's review of this will be as it relates to any zoning ordinances or changes to the code that they've adopted. And as the mayor indicated, they're a recommending body. So if there were to be an amendment, that there would be what's called an overlay district, that they would be setting the boundaries for that district and making the recommendation. And before they would do a change to their code, they need to have a public hearing. So if that is the path it takes, there would be a public hearing, planning commission would act, it would then come back to the city council. Not every decision is in the planning commission's hands because some of those decisions are more legal or administrative in nature that aren't of a planning application. So some decisions would still lie with individuals up at the front table here.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name's Don Kleinhuntz. I've met all of you before over the last 3 years doing business here in the city. And I just want to make as a matter of public record that we didn't show up in Trenton on a whim. June 9th, 2016, there was a first reading of a ordinance that limits cultivation to I-1 through I-3 districts within the city limits of Trenton. I believe all of your city council meetings are well publicized on your website. I believe the agendas are also well publicized on your website. So all of this public outcry of all this secrecy that's been going on and these behind doors things that they're not aware of, this has been publicized for over 3 years through public meetings, through city council meetings, through planning meetings. So I'm very confused on where everyone is just baffled that this suddenly appeared. Based on that first reading, we purchased the building at 880 Jefferson. We actually put an option in on the property, and the option clearly stated that there was a contingency for approval of this ordinance to be approved, which that ordinance had a second reading on July 12th. So the day after the second reading, and after the mayor signed the new ordinance into effect, stating that cultivation has to be in the I-1 through I-3 zoning, where our building's located, we came down here to the city and we met with Virgil, I guess the city manager, or I don't know.
He's a city inspector.
City inspector at the time. We went to the licensing department. From that day forward, we have been nothing but 100% transparent in what our future was, what we were proposing to do. We showed Virgil the property. He looked at the plat books. He said, wow, that didn't take long, 24 hours. You have a property that fits. He said, I need to come out and take a look at the building. He was out there 3 days later. He toured the facility. 2 weeks later, he had 12 inspectors come out. They toured the facility. It's quite a large facility. It's 20,000 square feet. It's 500 some odd feet long. They handed us a 38 item list that needed, which I'm really intrigued now to see how many other people have purchased commercial buildings in the city limits of Trenton to conduct business, whether they're vacant or they're operating, and to see who else has ever received a 38 item list of things that have to be rectified to the building. But we met with all the inspectors.
Look at that at Homes.
Okay.
I will let you know that.
Well, I see a hospital sitting out here that's been empty since the day we got here. I know the property across the street from us been in its dilapidated state for who knows how long. But we still went along with the program. We said, sure, Virgil. We said yes to all the city inspectors. Again, 100% transparency. Went through the list of the 38 items. We are now at over $1 million invested into that property. We did everything that the city asked us to do. We had the city, every inspector toured the facility. We had the city police chief, the fire chief, the head of every organization that could come out and inspect it. We invited city council members to come out and take a look. Some did, some didn't. We had you there as the mayor to come take a look. So my point is that we have followed every step to our ability to do this in a proper fashion. There's already been planning meetings for this. What happened to those? There's already been numerous other city council meetings. What happened to those? It's always a kick the can down the road situation. And I don't know where that's coming from, but it's very perplexing at this point. As an investor in this city, as $1 million investment in a vacant building in this city, I'm paying $20,000 in summer tax tomorrow morning here at the city. how I can take an empty building, turn it into a functioning business with legally licensed as a caregiver center through your ordinance, and then we get treated this way. It's just completely baffling. I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it on public record. After we did everything that I just mentioned, our attorney, Kurt Kobolak, went to the city and said, hi, the fellows have done everything they've been asked to do. They're now would like to get their CO. The city said, fine, here's your certificate of occupancy. He then said, I would like to have my business license for everything that they've accomplished and for what they're applying for. There's no such license.
We don't have a business license.
So you ran us through the hoops of everything you ran us through, and then you wouldn't even issue us a business license. But we were told by the city.
Because I've worked here for 43 years. We've never had a business license. I'm going to let you know that.
So
the C of O is to make sure that your building is up to code. Okay, so that's what you're going to receive is a C of O.
But we were told that we could operate, correct? We could legally operate our caregiver center at that facility, correct?
That's your caregiver, yes.
Yes. So that's what we did. So you're telling me there wouldn't be no city license? There would be no...
There'll be licenses if we go through this process. There'll be licenses for your, for the business, but, for the business of what you want to do. But we don't have what you would call a business license for us to issue to you. The certificate of occupancy is to make sure that your building is up to code.
I understand that, which we did. We handled all life safety issues.
We've never had a business license. I mean, you can go to Lincoln Park and yes, they've got one, but you talk with them and go, what is it for? You know what I mean? It's
so other businesses here, like other manufacturing companies, don't have business licenses. They just have certificate of occupancies? Okay. The other point, the caregiver situation, as far as the residents go, it was great that you did the ordinance that you did, and it was great that we found the building that fits within the distance setbacks per your ordinance. And for the safety issue, for the fire issue, the state law with the caregiver situation, you can have a caregiver arrangement with up to 72 plants in any residential house anywhere in the city of Trenton. So you were smart in enacting this ordinance to put these businesses within an industrial zone, and I agree to have a proper control that if there is a life safety issue, if there is a fire, if there's what have you, that you know where the places are at. They're secure. Nobody's stealing power. Nobody's, running something in their garage that's powered 10 times beyond what it should be. So that's all positive. As far as the skunk smell, I challenge somebody to step outside of our building and show me that there's a skunk smell. You've all been there. Was there a skunk smell outside of our building?
Not that I'm aware of.
We have incredibly expensive filtration systems specifically to deal with that. So my point is, you guys have told us since day one, you don't want retail in the city limits. You don't want dispensaries. We're not in the dispensary business. We're not in the retail business. We're a manufacturing company.
We were still in just, even in the processing to make oils or whatever it may be, we were still on edge over that too.
Okay, well, I think there was some confusion within the city that, unfortunately, with the state, provisioning and processing can be somewhat confusing with each other. Provisioning is a retail sale.
That's correct.
Processing is just turning the plant into the medicine. So it's the refining of the manufacturing aspect of it. And I just wanted to also make clear for public record, that building, that location has never had a remote possibility in our minds to become a retail center, a dispensary, nothing more than the cultivation, manufacturing, and the processing. That the product would never see the light of day. We have a 50-foot built-in truck bay that a licensed state distributor would have to come pick up, a transport company. So we're not allowed to even own a transport company in the state of Michigan. If you have a cultivation center or a processing center, you're not allowed to be the transporting company. So, and it would be transported anywhere within the state of Michigan. It's not being made for the city of Trenton. It would be sent from the licensed transporter to a licensed dispensary, a licensed provisioning center. So there's been some confusion, I think, on that. And I also think in your ordinance, your first reading, I think there was some administrative problems where somebody changed the, I've seen multiple versions of the ordinance that was supposed to be the first reading, where there was confusion with provisioning centers and processing. And I think you actually had a first reading to allow provisioning in the city of Trenton.
We did. That's why when it came about for the second reading, when I started looking at, I sat with the city clerk and we started proofing what we had in the first and the second. We needed to take that out. That was one of the things that was going to be taken out because the council wasn't for, provisional centers.
Which we aren't either. But earlier tonight, you said that it would be the first draft ordinance that would go to the city planning commission, not the second.
They received both of them, though. I don't know if you heard me, but I mentioned that I was informed that they received both of them.
Because I believe, from my understanding, it's corrections. Actually, some corrections that I personally suggested after I read the first reading because the ordinance was incorrect. So I just want to make it as clear as I possibly can on public record that our transparency has been 100%.
Oh, no, I haven't had any problem. I never had any problem with the Molinos either. When it came down to it, you've been straightforward with us with what you wanted to do there. That was not a problem.
Okay.
I think that, and I don't know why, we've always been transparent with having this on council meetings and stuff like that, but we started to worry about, when they started having all the different cities were being sued and this kind of thing. So we were kind of pulling back only because we don't want to be one of those cities. So we want to make sure what they're getting sued about and, where we're going with it before we decide, if we're going to move on or what we're going to do. So,
okay,
go ahead.
Two other quick things. One, just for the residents of the city of Trenton to know, there was an overwhelming, unanimous, positive yes vote for recreational marijuana when that vote happened in the state of Michigan.
It was 55 to 45 in Trenton.
Okay, so just so everybody's aware of that.
Oh, I know more about marijuana than I ever really wanted to know, to be honest with you. So.
Okay, and that's all I wanted to state is that we're still here to work with you, and we want to work with you, but obviously now our frustrations now are at level 12 because every day we're moving forward to try to do things properly, and we just keep getting the door slammed in our face.
Sure.
And it doesn't seem to make any sense. The last thing I'll say about the public record aspect of it is for the general public to be aware of. When you get a commercial license, which this ordinance would be about, you have to be approved by the state of Michigan. And to get approved by the state of Michigan, it's no different than if someone is getting, I hate to compare it, but even a gaming license. The diligence that the state goes through to approve someone for a state license is not a simple task. So if an individual or an entity can pass the scrutiny of the state of Michigan, not just the city of Trenton, not just the county of Wayne, but the state of Michigan would approve a license for an entity or an individual, that individual has gone through more scrutiny than you could ever imagine or dream of having in a small local ordinance. It also then allows for state policing and state control of what's happening with the product. It doesn't put the burden on the local control. The local control is still allowed, but they get the assistance of the state. And there's what's a thing called seed to sale, where the state actually controls from the seed of the plant all the way through the retail end of the plant where this plant has gone and how it's been created. So it's a much more controlled, positive situation than the current, what I call Wild West caregiver situation, where you have caregivers all over the city of Trenton. Whether you're aware of it or not, which I think you are.
I get calls.
There are caregivers all over this. So I just want to say we're standing here trying to do this right, and we would appreciate, the reciprocation back to us of,
I'm getting so that they're saying, can I cut you here? So
okay.
I appreciate your comments, and like I said, you've got a couple of planning commissioners here right now listening to you, so we'll be.
So what is the timeline? It was still confusing to me tonight.
Well,
if just as an ending thing, if you could.
Go ahead. I'm going to have my city administrator let you know what we're doing here.
It has been referred to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission's next meeting is on October 9th. They are going to be receiving communication. It is not my understanding there's going to be a public hearing or necessarily any discussion. I believe they're going to be receiving the report of the city planner of what the tasks are for the Planning Commission to accomplish. They will then be scheduling that for their discussion at later meetings. They generally meet on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, if there is a matter to be heard. So again, they'll be receiving it on October 9th, this Wednesday. But I don't expect it to be, again, a public discussion forum that there's a need for people to show up. It's a public meeting, you're always welcome at those. From discussions with the Planning Commission chair, he said they're a very thorough, very deliberative bunch. It has been to Planning Commission before, however, it was a totally different landscape at that point in time. Recreational had not passed for one issue on a statewide ballot initiative. But what came out of that planning recommendation in 2017, in April, I believe, was for one grow operation, one processing, and one provisioning center. What was contemplated by the council on first reading had no provisioning centers and changed the numbers of grow or processing centers. So it's going back to them for their evaluation. And again, their focus is primarily going to be on, I believe, the overlay district or what the permitted boundaries would be, and they would then recommend back to the city. It's my hope that the city is able to get some direction from other communities so we would know what that landscape is going to be. In particular, the Warren case, those who were not granted licenses are suing because the decisions were not made in a public meeting. When we're talking about security plans, sanitation disposal plans, reviewing owners' financial documents, if that had to be done in a public meeting or were subject to FOIA disclosure, that really changes the landscape if I'm in your shoes.
Right.
To me, I have no idea why you would ever be reviewing publicly reviewing a security or a safety plan for such a facility. It defeats the whole purpose if everybody knows how you're securing it. But those are some of the things that we're waiting for. Hopefully get some guidance through the courts or regulatory agencies at the state level, know what the playing field is, and make an educated decision at all levels from there.
So here we are at October 7th. So after that educated decision, after the planning meeting, give me a ballpark timeline of what 3 years from now, 6 months from now, 90 days from now. I mean, I was here, 3 years ago. I just want to know if it's going to be another 3 years. Is it going to be just shoot me an idea? I mean,
I would certainly hope it doesn't take that long. I don't have a vote on the matter. I would hope that the information is gathered, and I think really what would contribute to a holding pattern from my standpoint, making an administrative recommendation, is what's going on through the court system. If there are legal challenges or the landscape hasn't settled down from the courts, that may cause reason for uncertainty as far as my recommendation or in consultation with the city attorney. If we have decisions from regulatory levels and from the courts that we know what the lay of the land is, I think everybody can make an educated decision. I would certainly hope it's more in the months, not the years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Galloway, 3065 Harrison. So I have 4 things that I'll throw out. I don't expect answers to all of them. One is an update on what's going on with the Riverside Hospital. And secondly would be the Owen School property. Is that going to be developed soon? The other thing is in Parks and Rec, the baseball fields this year for little kids, they weren't good. Mr. Benedetti was there. He saw the grass. I mean, Trenton, to me, needs to come together, try to find maybe a place to put 4 parks where we could have a really nice representation when other cities come to play baseball in Trenton. And so that's just my suggestion. Not being critical, I know had a lot of rain. I know, excuse me, grass was hard to keep up with. The other thing is, has the city council talked at all about what the plan is when DTE closes this plant? And, you know, how that's gonna impact the budget
Okay.
and coming down the
First,
pipe.
I'm gonna go with the baseball diamonds, because I just had a meeting with our recreation director, and I just ended up meeting with Ford Motor, or we ended up meeting with, we've met with two entities. One was the schools, and the other one was Woodhaven. We're looking at a piece of property that we're hoping that we'll be able to obtain from Ford Motor Company. I told them I could not buy it, but they have, it's over by Arthur's Middle School. That's one of the dreams that we're looking at. Hopefully, it's not a dream, but it'll become a reality, of putting approximately 4 diamonds. We're working with the school system because they have not finalized their plans for the Arthur's 2 diamonds that they have there. The one's a softball and one's a baseball. So we are working on that with the Baseball Association, with our Parks and Recreation, and we have met with Woodhaven because we wanted to check, and they're trying to give us the final answer on it. It is property that's in Woodhaven that Ford Motor Company pays taxes on, so we will have to wait to see what will happen with that. You know, if they're okay with it, and maybe we can do some possible usages or something that they might need down the road. Maybe we can, you know, work with them on that. So that's in regards to the baseball diamonds. I know that, you know, I've had reports, and I've been sitting with, we had 2 meetings already with the Baseball Association, so we're trying to work something out with them. Owen School, that property, I don't know if it's been turned over yet. It has been turned over, okay? And so the property has been turned over to the new developer, and I'm not sure yet. Maybe Dr. Doyle can tell. Go ahead.
I believe that is on the agenda for Wednesday night's Planning Commission meeting for final site plan approval.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we, so that's.
2 of them.
Yep. Riverside Hospital, I'm gonna, because we're in the midst of a court issue with that, so.
Yes, we are tied up very deep in litigation on the Riverside Hospital issue, so I'm very limited in what I can say. It is public record, the city had made a motion for the appointment of a receiver to control the property. The city's motion was granted a week ago Friday, so Wayne County Circuit Court awarded our request. A receiver now has control over that property. It is still in the court's hands, but we feel that was a very important step for the community, for community as a whole, but particularly those who live in close proximity to the hospital, and we're hoping to see some major improvements in very short order.
So a receiver would mean somebody else's.
A receiver is a court-appointed officer, as I understand the law, and they are authorized by the judge handling the case to make decisions for the betterment for that property. So whether it is securing, cleaning and maintaining, eliminating blight, but in more expanded applications could even include demolition or forcing the sale of that property, if it was deemed to be in the property's best interest.
That's good.
And then we have DTE. Do you want to give an update?
Yes, and DTE, again, that is tied up in litigation right now because there's a pending Michigan Tax Tribunal case. So we're very limited in what we can say in regards to that. I can assure you, every person up here is very aware of what those financial implications are, and that is going to be front and center of our budget discussions in very short order.
We're trying to work with them to see if we can repurpose the property. That's
Okay.
one of the things that we're looking to do. We're not really sure yet what that'll be. They do have some people hired to see what they can do to repurpose it. So we've been working on this since they announced back in 2012, I think it was. So we are working with them to see where we can go with repurposing, because we would like to have tax dollars when it comes down to it.
Sure.
So that's all I can really tell you at this point. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Good questions. Anybody else that would like to talk to the council? If not, I'm looking for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourning at 8:14. Thank you.